Hi, Mike Campbell from Barfoot & Thompson. Firstly, thank you for choosing myself and Barfoot & Thompson to market your property. This video has been put together by Barfoot & Thompson City Branch and will guide you through the agreement for agency. Please watch it and use it as a guide to filling in and understanding the contract. You can pause the video at any stage and email me or call if you have any queries. Let's get going.
Obviously, you are the client. Put in your name and any names that are on the title. The next part is the physical address of the property in the suburb. Now we're coming down to agency type. If Barfoot & Thompson is going to be the sole agent, please put the date that the agency commences on and the date that you've already agreed with your salesperson on when it will finish. If no date is put here, it will be 90 days from the start date. Point 3 is an important one, prior agency. If you have had this property listed with another agent prior to now, you do need to let your agent know. If you don't let them know, there is a possibility that you could be liable to pay 2 full commissions, one to Barfoot & Thompson and one to the agency you had a prior listing with. Please be aware that when you're signed up in a sole agency with Barfoot & Thompson, you can't sell the property privately or through another agency. 3.2 is what you would fill out if the property has been listed with another agency. Just put in the name of the agency and the period of the agency. Moving on to the methods of sale, you will have already discussed with your listing agent how you're going to sell the property. The most common method of sale in the current market in Auckland is to sell the property by auction. If you're selling by auction at 4.1, we need to put in the auction date and you also need to put in the settlement date. Now the most common period for a settlement date is 6 Fridays after the auction. However, due to your individual circumstances, that may be different. When you get to the bottom of the page and you're sure you've filled in all the parts you're meant to, please initial. You may have noticed here that there's a few different methods of sales shown: auction, tender, promotion. Please keep in mind that the method of sale chosen may impact on the individual benefits that the listing agent may receive. 5. Commission and expenses. You already would have been given an idea of the commission you're due to pay based on our commission charges. Just so you know, the commission doesn't change based on the type of marketing you do. Also keep in mind, the commission is deducted out of the deposit and paid to us once the property goes unconditional. 5.4 is where the agreed marketing expenses are listed. You already would have been given a marketing budget, so please put in the amount that you've agreed to pay here. 6.0, agent statement relating to rebates, discounts and other commissions. Please cross out 6.1.2. Barfoot & Thompson do not take rebates, discounts or commissions. Now we've finished page 2, please initial at the bottom. Deposit 7.0. As stated before, we collect the deposit. Please keep in mind that with unit titles, specifically apartments and townhouses, we are unable to release the deposit to you until the purchaser's solicitor has approved the pre-settlement disclosure statement. They don't actually have to do this until 5 days prior to settlement. So if you do need the deposit to put down on another property, please keep this in mind. 8.0, client warranties. If you're the person signing this agreement on or behalf of the other people on the title, you have to have full authority to do so. You also have to provide correct information and let us know if there is any defects, hazards or problems with the party that would be material to a purchaser's decision. Number 9, indemnity. You, the client, indemnify us, Barfoot & Thompson, the licensees and any other employees against any losses, damages, claims or other liability arising from inaccurate information provided by you or any material omissions in this agreement. 10. Disclosure of information. This is an interesting one, and basically it covers what we as licensees have to disclose to potential buyers about your property. Read through 10.1, 2 and 3. 11, data collection. This is pretty basic. It just means that obviously we're going to have your details in our system and other agents have access to them. Please keep in mind though that with an auction or tender campaign, no agent apart from the listing agent should be in touch with you. No one can ring you up and say what sort of price are you looking for, etc. If anyone does ring you, please tell your listing agent. 12, use of materials. Again, a pretty basic one. Photos, ad copy, etc. could be used again at a later date for marketing purposes. 13, confidentiality. Basically, we can't disclose any private information about you without your consent. Please read through this one further. Make sure to initial at the bottom of the page. Page 4, number 14, notices. This one's another interesting one to keep in mind. If you become aware of anything relating to the property during the marketing process and up until the settlement date, you have to let us know. 15, general. Please read through clauses 15.1 and 15.2 with regards to the termination of this agreement. 16, client acknowledgements. Get out your pen because you're going to do lots of initialing. 16.1.1. It has been recommended to you to seek legal advice and a reasonable opportunity to obtain legal advice was given. So basically, your agent has already told you you're more than welcome to talk to your lawyer and they recommend it, and you're saying you've had a chance. Please initial at the end. 16.1.2. Recommended that you may need to seek technical or other advice and you've been given an opportunity to do so. Make sure to initial at the end there as well. 16.1.3. Given a copy of the approved guide relating to agency agreements published by the Real Estate Agents Authority. This will have been emailed to you. Make sure to initial. 16.1.4. Given a copy of the approved guide relating to sale and purchase agreements. Make sure to initial at the end of this one. 16.1.5. Made aware of our in-house complaints process, and there's a copy of that. Make sure to initial. 16.1.6. You've also been made aware that you can access the REAA's complaints process without first using our in-house complaints process. Initial there. 16.1.7. Advised and have had an explanation of the circumstances in which you could be liable to pay a full commission to more than one agent. Remember when I asked if you had been listed with another agent previously? Make sure to initial. 16.1.8. Advised when this agency agreement comes to an end, as we did on the first page. Make sure to initial. 16.1.9. Made aware of the various possible methods of sale and how the chosen method could impact on the individual benefits that the licensee may receive. Initial there. 16.1.10. Made aware of the agent's disclosure obligations as set out in clause 10.1 and 10.2. Initial here. 16.1.11. You will have already been given an appraisal for the property in writing, or in the few cases where no directly comparable or semi-comparable sales data exists, this has been explained to you in writing. Initial here. 16.1.12. You've been given a copy of the taxation legislation information for sellers and buyers. Initial here. Then you need to sign, date, and then again initial at the bottom of the page. Oh, page 5, this is a fun one. Barfoot and Thompson disclosures. So at the top, we'll just start with acknowledgements from the client. Leaks disclosure. Are you aware of any past or present water penetration issues affecting the property and or the complex? Please specify if it's no or yes, and initial here. Underneath here, it's just got a note that if you do become aware of water penetration issues later on, you must make us aware. So let your listing agent know. Other disclosures. Are you aware of any pending works on adjoining properties or in the immediate area which may affect a customer's decision to purchase? If so, have you signed or been requested to sign any consents or agreements relating to this work? Please specify. If it's a yes, you will need to provide further information about this to the listing agent and then initial at the end. OSH declaration. Have any potential hazards been identified or notified to you? Yes or no? Again, if you need to specify, you need to provide further information to the listing agent. These are pretty uncommon with apartments though. Unit titles. If your property is a unit title, you have to provide a signed, dated and completed pre-contract disclosure form. Please tick yes when you have and initial at the end. GST. Please advise that for the purposes of this transaction, i.e. the property sale, you are or are not registered for goods and services tax. Specify and then initial. Then initial again at the bottom of the page. Now we're finally at the last page. This is the property description. Most of this information I'll just leave for you to discuss between you and your listing salesperson. I will just point out that we do need for you to have a solicitor firm nominated and an individual solicitor. I'll also point out at the very bottom of the page, there's a section that starts with comparable sales data price. You will have already been given a written appraisal for your property. Please put in the amount that was given in the appraisal as the expected price range it would sell for. Next we come to estimated commission payable. You would have been given an example of what commission you have to pay to Barfoot and Thompson if your property sells. Please put in this estimated amount here. Now I need you to initial this and we're all done.
Great. Now you've completed the agency agreement and we are nearly there. If the paperwork is completed, you can scan, email the documents to me and we can get started. Again, if you have any questions or queries, please email or call me to discuss. Thank you again, and I look forward to marketing your property.